They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce,
No, not you, man.
but they can't control me. You
Not
see, it
you.
ain't no name I won't name.
Exactly.
It's up.
In a way, it sort of seems like, you know, they're trying to minimalize it to just gang shit.
Ye has never been shy about throwing dynamite into the industry conversation. But this time, the explosion shook the foundations of hip-hop history itself. In one of his most unsettling claims to date, Ye suggested that Diddy and Jay-Z had a hand in Shakur's tragic end, framing it not as a random act of East Coast, West Coast violence, but as something darker, almost ritualistic. According to Ye, the loss of Shakur wasn't just about rivalry. It was a dedication, a price paid to usher Jay-Z into the inner sanctum of Hollywood power. The suggestion that one of the most revered rappers of all time was sacrificed so another could step into the spotlight is enough to freeze us mid-scroll. Could Ye really be exposing a secret initiation, or is this yet another unfiltered outburst from a man who has built a career on mixing genius with chaos?
If we get to the bottom of Tupac's, when that is finally revealed, 15 other will be revealed with it. And you will find that they were all committed by the same two people, father and son.
When Ye talks, the world listens, even when we're not sure if we should. He has a pattern. One day he's ranting about corporate control. The next he's dropping prophecies about hidden forces pulling the strings of celebrities. He insists he's untouchable because, in his own words, "I never ended nobody, so I can say whatever I want and not go to jail." That's the twisted credibility he clings to, casting himself as both prophet and pariah, which leaves us asking, could this be one of those moments when the so-called black sheep of the music world is actually telling a truth that others are too afraid to voice? Or is Ye once again spiraling, blurring the line between conspiracy and confession? The timing makes everything more puzzling. After years of very public feuds, Ye has recently been interacting with Jay-Z on social media again, almost playfully, as if nothing had ever happened. We know the history, the falling out after Beyonce and Jay skipped his wedding to Kim Kardashian, the bitterness when Jay picked Kendrick Lamar over him for the Super Bowl halftime stage, the ugly rants where Ye even dragged Jay and Beyonce's children into the battlefield of his words, and yet suddenly here he is, dropping likes, commenting, resurfacing in Jay's digital orbit. Is this a softening of old wounds, or is it a calculated game? Could Ye be baiting Jay-Z into stepping closer so he can pull him into the very conversation about Shakur's untimely end?
I felt like, you know, they had like, you know, a whole lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in, you know, because, you know, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do.
This reconciliation feels almost theatrical, like a chess match in public view. Ye has always been obsessed with the idea of Hollywood rituals, whispering that behind the glitz lies a system of sacrifices and pledges. To him, Jay-Z and Diddy's ascent wasn't about talent or business genius alone, it was about deals sealed in shadows, with lives as the currency. For anyone else, it would sound like a script out of a bad thriller. But in West's voice, echoing against a backdrop of decades-old suspicions, it lands differently. After all, former investigators have long whispered about Diddy's alleged million-dollar bounty on Shakur, with insiders like Keefe Davis claiming he pulled the strings that night in Las Vegas. A retired detective even said he boxed Keefe D into confessing the plot, pointing directly at Diddy as the one who commissioned it.
It's so complicated, convoluted, chaotic. It's hard to actually figure out what's what, but it's becoming clearer.
And it doesn't stop there. In recent years, federal raids have targeted Diddy's mansions, with lawsuits painting him as the music world's version of an Epstein figure, surrounded by staffers who allegedly facilitated parties no one wants their names attached to. Each new headline drags his past back into the spotlight, and every shadow brings the old Shakur theories roaring back to life. If Diddy really had the power to order such a strike, then West's implication that Jay-Z benefited from it, maybe even needed it as part of his own rise, takes on an unsettling weight. Were these men climbing the ladder together, tied by something far more sinister than sparkling toasts at black billionaire brunches?
Weirdo. I don't give no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
What makes West's voice uniquely disruptive is his refusal to filter. One minute he's ranting about celebrities being controlled like puppets, claiming his own mother was sacrificed to keep him in line, and the next he's naming names. LeBron James, Beyonce, Jay-Z, insisting they too are bound by invisible masters. He may sound unhinged, but he says it with the conviction of someone who thinks he survived the very same system. And when he folds Shakur's name into this mythology, when he suggests the ultimate icon was the ultimate offering, the industry can't just laugh it off. Shakur's end has always been shrouded in competing narratives, but this angle, that it was the key to someone else's coronation, raises the stakes in a way no one else has dared.
Boy, Puffy called me though. Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's,
The paradox is impossible to ignore. On one hand, Ye posts apologies, even admitting he feels bad for lashing out at Jay-Z's family, confessing he always wanted to feel like part of that inner circle. On the other, he's painting Jay-Z as a man who walked over blood to stand at the top. It's as if Ye himself is torn, longing for brotherhood with a man he also frames as part of a sinister pact. Is he reaching for reconciliation, or is this the perfect setup for an even darker reveal? We know he thrives on contradiction, but even for him, the emotional whiplash is staggering. And so we're left circling back to the same burning question. If Ye is telling the truth, even a fraction of it, then what does that mean for the foundations of hip-hop as we know it? What does it mean for the legacy of Jay-Z, the man whose name has become synonymous with empire, with longevity, with success that transcends music itself? If Shakur's last night was part of a so-called initiation, then who else in Hollywood has walked through that same door? And more importantly, how many more secrets are still locked away, waiting for someone reckless enough or brave enough to say them out loud? And while the tension between Ye, Jay-Z, and Diddy already feels like a Greek tragedy set in the modern hip-hop world, things took an even darker turn when federal agents started raiding Diddy's mansions. What began as shocking accusations about exploitation and manipulation spiraled into full-scale investigations. We heard whispers that agents stumbled upon a so-called vault, a hidden archive of tapes, documents, and evidence that could implicate not only Diddy in his current scandals, but perhaps even tie him back to events from the 90s. A former investigator suggested the raids weren't just about recent accusations. They might have been fishing for buried secrets tied to Shakur's final night in Las Vegas. Could it be that inside one of those locked rooms lies proof that connects the present chaos with the most infamous case in rap history?
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
The image of a vault stuffed with tapes is chilling. For years, Diddy has been portrayed as untouchable, the man who always kept his hands clean while others around him took the fall. But if that vault exists, and if it really holds the kind of evidence people are hinting at, then it could dismantle the empire he built brick by brick. Imagine investigators releasing not only footage of wild parties, but records that outline payoffs, orders, or conversations about a $1 million bounty. That would do more than end Diddy's career. It could unravel the mythology of hip-hop's golden era. And at the center of it all stands Ye, pointing fingers, daring to say out loud what others whisper. The pressure cooker is made hotter by the fact that insiders have compared Diddy's situation to the darkest scandals of the last decade, name-dropping Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell as parallels. Former employees claim there were girls too young at his events, others talk about forced indulgences, and lawsuits pile up describing his staff as enablers. If this is the climate we're in now, it's no wonder West's theories about sacrifices and Hollywood rituals resonate with some, because in his mind, these aren't random acts. They're part of a consistent pattern where the powerful demand silence, and the price of entry is loyalty sealed in tragedy.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about the kids at some point here, and not for the younger ones, it's at some point. For North, it's right now, right? That even if she doesn't see it, even if somehow Kim is able to keep that away from her, the kids that her friends at school, they're gonna know about it, they're gonna see it, and it puts the kids in a horrible situation.
This is where West's own unraveling becomes part of the story. We've seen him lash out at Jay-Z's family, then regret it, accuse his ex-wife Kim Kardashian of weaponizing their children, threaten never to speak to her again, only to post text exchanges days later. It paints a picture of a man unable to separate his private pain from his public crusade. He insists that celebrities are controlled, that his mother was sacrificed, that Hollywood thrives on trauma, and while some dismiss it as paranoia, others wonder if his obsession is rooted in truths too ugly to face. When he says Jay-Z's career was baptized in Shakur's blood, it sounds wild. But then the raids on Diddy's mansions happen, and suddenly the line between conspiracy and possibility blurs.
There are people who did short sales on their stocks right after that, made a lot of money, including Sean Carter, now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident?
The second rumor that has haunted Ye for years is this idea that Shakur wasn't the only one. He believes there's an ongoing chain of sacrifices, a system that consumes lives to keep power consolidated. In his interviews, he's rattled off names: Michael Jordan's father, Dre's son, Bill Cosby's son, as if Hollywood keeps a running tally of loss. Whether or not we believe him, it's clear Ye is consumed by the notion that he's living inside a machine designed to silence rebels and reward the compliant. If he's right, then the music industry isn't just about art. It's about blood, power, and survival. If he's wrong, then what we're witnessing is one of the most public descents into obsession we've ever seen.
She was unconscious. She didn't choose to get on that plane. There were phone calls made. There are witnesses who signed NDAs.
The parallels Ye draws don't stop with Shakur. He has often pointed to the shocking plane crash that ended Aaliyah's life as another piece of the puzzle. She was only 22, soaring in both music and film, when her story was abruptly cut short. For conspiracy watchers, the timing was suspicious. Aaliyah was closely tied to Rockefeller circles through her relationship with Damon Dash, Jay-Z's business partner and rival. Whispers soon followed that her absence cleared the stage for Beyonce's meteoric rise, feeding theories that her passing wasn't just a tragic accident, but part of the same grim exchange of lives for power that Ye insists runs beneath the industry. Aaliyah's story carries the same haunting ingredients: youth, promise, and sudden loss at the exact moment her career threatened to reshape R&B and cinema. The aircraft was overloaded, the pilot was unlicensed, and reports later claimed she didn't even want to board that flight. For West's followers, the circumstances echo a familiar script: a rising star with too much potential, a last-minute decision that sealed her fate, and a vacuum of unanswered questions left behind. The more we look, the more the tragedy of Aaliyah becomes entangled in this idea of Hollywood sacrifices, an invisible currency traded to open doors for others.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling.
Then there is Michael Jackson, another figure Ye has invoked when discussing how the powerful deal with rebels who won't be controlled. Jackson had spent decades redefining music, amassing fortune and influence, and by the end of his life was battling both the industry and a swarm of accusations that threatened to erase his legacy. His abrupt passing in 2009 shocked the world, but for Ye, it was also proof of a system ready to dispose of even its greatest icons when they became inconvenient. Jackson had spoken of conspiracies, contracts he couldn't escape, and forces trying to strip him of his catalog. To Ye, it all adds up. The same hands that ended Shakur's journey, that cut short Aaliyah's, were also behind the King of Pop's last days. The eerie common thread is how these stories end, not in graceful retirements or slow fade-outs, but in sudden collapses that change the course of pop culture. Shakur's bullet-riddled car on the Las Vegas Strip, Aaliyah's wrecked plane smoldering in the Bahamas, Michael Jackson's lifeless body in Los Angeles after rehearsals for a comeback tour. Each story shocked the world, but each also carried rumors of negligence, cover-ups, or intentional silencing. To those who share West's worldview, these aren't coincidences. They're the calling cards of an underground order that balances its books with lives.
Let's talk about it, man. So you feel like it was bigger than Orlando Shooter Pac. You feel like it's more to the story. You don't think it was that simple?
I feel like it's bigger.
This belief ties back to West's fixation on control. He has often argued that celebrities are not free agents, but pawns. Their successes orchestrated, their failures engineered, their exits predetermined. Shakur's defiance, Aaliyah's independence, and Jackson's refusal to surrender his catalog all challenged the system in their own way. And each of them, Ye insists, paid the ultimate price for their resistance. Whether or not the evidence holds up in a courtroom, the parallels are stark enough to keep the theories alive. The chilling part of this narrative is not just what it says about those we lost, but what it implies about those who remain. If Shakur's passing opened doors for Jay-Z, if Aaliyah's absence cleared the path for Beyonce, if Michael Jackson's catalog battle benefited industry giants, then we're left staring at a pattern where success is never innocent. It suggests every chart-topping hit, every sold-out tour, might be shadowed by unseen costs paid by someone else. For Ye, this isn't speculation. It's the very reason he feels like the black sheep cast aside by those who still play the game.
And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit.
And so the question lingers, are these high-profile tragedies part of an interconnected system of sacrifice? Or is Ye weaving grief, suspicion, and betrayal into a grand conspiracy that only he can see? It's this uncertainty that makes his claims so gripping. Each time another scandal erupts, each time another powerful name is dragged into the headlines, the web feels a little tighter, the coincidences a little harder to dismiss. And whether it's truth or torment, the possibility that Hollywood's glamour is built on such a shadowy foundation is enough to leave us unsettled. That's why this moment feels so dangerous. Ye is both witness and warning. He has access, he has memories, and he has nothing left to lose. His career has already weathered collapses from brand deals, his words have already cost him fortunes, and yet he keeps talking. Is he laying the groundwork for the biggest exposure Hollywood has ever seen? Or is his fixation dragging him into a spiral that ends with him alienated from everyone he once called family? The stakes couldn't be higher. For Ye, for Jay-Z, for Diddy, and for the legacy of Shakur. So we have to ask, what happens if the vault is real? What happens if West's accusations find backing in court documents or seized footage? The ripple effect would be seismic. It would force us to reevaluate not only how Shakur's life ended, but how much of the industry's history has been built on secrets we were never supposed to hear. For fans who grew up idolizing these men, it could feel like betrayal on a scale no chart-topping hit can erase. And now, the question that keeps circling back, is Ye pulling back the curtain on Hollywood's darkest secrets, or is this the biggest meltdown we've ever witnessed? Either way, the truth, when it comes, could shatter everything we thought we knew about the music industry. What do you think? Is Ye finally exposing the unthinkable, or is he lost in his own obsession? Let us know in the comments because this story isn't finished yet. Until next time, stay sharp, stay questioning, and never forget, sometimes the gossip holds more power than the headlines.